everybody, Brady here from BGWX, and tonight we're going to be breaking down the upcoming snowstorm here for the Mid-Atlantic and maybe some parts of the southern Northeast, whatever you can consider that. I mean, it's come across the plains in the area, but we're going to be breaking this down in depth along with a little bit of detail into what's going to happen beyond. So come on, take a walk with me. Let's break it down. Come on. And so as we take a look here, this is Sunday, and our storm is coming across the Midwest here. Again, we focus typically on the eastern U.S. here, and especially Mid-Atlantic and Northeast here here on my channel. But the focus and the idea of this time frame is you can see this big old blizzard that is wrapping up, and it's part of the snow squalls and some accumulating snow that happened today across near the Delmarva, DC, into Philly Metro. And you can see that storm wraps up here. And we've talked about it on the live streams. If you haven't seen those, you can go and look through some of the chapters and get an idea of, some of the more in-depth. But the idea is this storm wraps up and combines with the New Year's Eve storm that allows a large system to really come together, and you see this confluence piece here develop on the backside, and it kind of lays the groundwork here. It doesn't matter what model you look at here for this. This lays the groundwork for what sets up here. In this confluence piece, along with our high pressure to the north, right? So this presses down, doesn't allow this to get out away too soon. And what this does is it forces this storm to be more suppressed versus coming further up north. And so that allows places in the Mid-Atlantic to cash in more versus places further north. Now, originally, I thought maybe there's a chance for this to come in, and I really thought there was an opportunity here for New York City. I don't think there's going to be enough wiggle room now for New York City to be able to get into the heaviest axis. I really thought there was a chance maybe a couple days ago, a little less, confident on that, a lot more confident in that part actually. But the idea is this upper level energy here, you can see at 500, this comes through, and that confluence suppresses our storm, and just to the north at our upper level low is where you'll see that heaviest snow take place here on this system, and the timing is around Monday into Tuesday, and that's when we'll look for the snowstorm to take place. Now, you can see on the Euro, what we're having here in some models is some a little bit south. You can see the Euro upper level low a little bit further south than the GFS is. You can see GFS has that upper level low just a little bit farther north, and that makes a difference. Regardless, in terms of specifics, I think DC does have to worry about some mixing concerns here, regardless of how this plays out. Whether it's a little bit further south or north, this is a warm air advection event. We're pulling in our moisture here from the south, so we can, take a screenshot here and zoom in on what's going on. We pull in this moisture here from the south, and this surge of warm air gets pulled into the cold air out ahead of our system that's already in place, and it creates a little bit of a battle zone here. And just to the north, you will thump a lot of heavy snow, potentially over a half foot, some places seeing over double-digit snowfall totals potentially. There could be even a swath potentially of double-digit localized totals somewhere in the Mid-Atlantic, and maybe PA, New Jersey, kind of. I'll talk more specifically about where I think that might set up. But somewhere in here, we see this battle zone set up, and what this allows to happen is when you create that thermal gradient here between this warm air meeting this cold air, it allows for just on the other side, you get a good area of frontogenesis to set up, and just to the north, you'll see a heavy band of snow take place, and heavier banding of snow take place just consistently. And then as the storm does slide offshore, then you'll see most people flip back. That if you did flip to sleet or freezing rain, you will flip back. And as it moves through, the cold air comes in from the backside. Now you'll see that low pressure system, kind of a new area of low pressure, start to really redevelop and take place just a little bit farther east. As our closed upper level low, you can see at 500 here, opens back up, and that allows for and that allows for a new area of low pressure to form a little bit further east, and you almost get a little bit of an inverted trough. Don't focus exactly on where, but notice those isobars invert a little bit, and some precip gets thrown back here. So that's an opportunity, even places into the northeast, to get some snow. I think some opportunity here for New York City, a little bit of snow, maybe southern New England, a light dusting is possible as well potentially, but really nothing significant if that were to happen, even if you were to see some flakes. New York City could get a little bit of accumulation, but it's very likely that the brunt of it is further south, and you can see if you see the P-type map more clear, you can see the Euro, similar idea. GFS is just a tick north. And that's about it. But it makes a difference, right? 30, 40 miles can make a huge difference for whether DC were to see like 2, 3, 4 inches of snow, or 6, 7, 8, 9 inches of snow, for example. I think DC will see some sleet here, so we can zoom in a little bit here, and talk about a little bit of how I think this might play out. I think we will see, right as that upper level low moves over the area, I think DC will have some sleet concerns. Again, warm air advection events are notorious for being undermodeled, the warm surge. And again, when we look at this, it's not, so we'll look at upper air and look at the temperatures. It's new Euro's loading out as I upload the video. I was like, that's way too cold. But as we play it out, notice that mix line starts to creep. Does it hold good enough here on the Euro? It says it does. There's 700. You can get an idea. 925. You can see it gets real close on the Euro. It holds just enough so that mix line doesn't quite fully get quite into DC. On the GFS, though, it's a little bit further north, and that mix line starts to creep up there and potentially cause a little bit of havoc. And you can see that more visibly on the P-type map, right there, and that mix line gets further up into the DC area, and I do think that's a concern here, with this upcoming system, where there will be some mixing potential here for DC, maybe, and maybe even points north potentially just a little bit. But I think the focus, I'm not gonna try to come too far south, and try to just, look at exactly where models are moving left and right. You got to stay the course, see how things progress. So I'll shift a little bit from where I was. I originally thought, northern Maryland to even potentially close to New York City could potentially be that area a couple days ago. Now I'm feeling a little bit more, a little bit further south, and I think potentially northern Maryland into southeastern PA, in central Jersey southward is where I would kind of focus, with especially focus on south central Jersey. The P-type maps, these precipitation type maps, are not going to be perfectly, depicting exactly how this plays out. I do think, though, for places that mix, you will get a front end thump. You will get a front end thump and then switch to snow on the backside. So DC could still get like a good 4 to 8 inches of snow potentially. Even if you were to mix where it'd come down really heavy, you'd get 1 to 2 inch per hour rates, for a little bit potentially, and then you would flip the sleet and then end as some light to moderate snow. And then Baltimore, I think that's where I think they're more favored for potentially, like a 6 to 12, plus area of snow. I think we'll see a good 6 to 12, inch area set up here, and some isolated higher totals are potentially possible. This will be one of the better storms for, the mid-Atlantic that we've seen in some time here. And sneaky, it's not necessarily a big old, it's a little bit sneakier than your typical, big old East Coast, cyclogenesis process here of a snowstorm, but it's just the upper level low sliding across the country that gets suppressed, and you get a little bit of a 50-50 low look, and it's a classic, mid-Atlantic storm here. This is how you get your big bucks here in the Mid-Atlantic, I guess. You can't always get a blizzard of 2016, but this is kind of the idea in the time frame. We're still kind of, waiting to see how exactly this plays out. I think I'll be able to do some more real-time analysis tomorrow, but again, it all depends on if that confluence piece, if I slide back out here, North America zoomed out, it's all about if this confluence piece here that is right here, zoom in, the more that this confluence piece it's associated with our big system here, if this presses a little bit further south, this will get shunted further south. Also, if we start energy hold back a little bit more, a little bit stronger, that allows a stronger backside to this system. For places in here, there could be a little bit more snow for PA, New Jersey, DC, Virginia on the backside. And even New York City potentially as well get some lighter snow. But if our confluence is a little bit further north, and even the angle, so the angle of our confluence, if it's a little bit flatter, if it's a little bit more pressed this way, or if it's a little bit more curved this way, it would allow this to come a little bit further north. If if this backs off more, this comes further north. But if this presses more, this shunts our storm and allows less convection to be able to get pulled up further north. Again, we're pulling moisture northward, but only so much, and it gets forced out ahead east. So it's an overrunning precip event where you'll see this line of area of precip set up here across the area, and that will allow for, bigger totals, just north of that mix line. And then back into the Midwest too, you'll see, probably a lot of 6 to 12 plus inch, and maybe even some 12 to 18 area set up back where the upper level low really gets cranking out here in the Midwest, for any of my followers out there. But that it will be a tricky system to track. And then after, we keep an eye on, models are kind of all over the place with this system, and will continue to be. So I can't really provide too much insight here on this system beyond. You've seen some talk here for southern folks. I know you're very interested. One thing I'll say is you got to stop over analyzing all these model runs. I know it's very exciting that wintertime is has potential here for the southeast and southern U.S., but you got to stop over analyzing too much. So here's kind of the idea of what happens after a storm moves through. We'll see another dive of upper level energy come through. There could be some snow potential with that. I would, there could be some snow potential, some light snow potential here, January 8th, 9th, potentially. A little bit. You can see upper level energy as this moves through here, that trough that swings through. Almost a repeat of what we had today, something similar. That kind of rolls through. And you'll notice, though, that gets out of the way a little bit quicker, consistently on what models have compared to what they have right now with the current Newfoundland blizzard. And then as that moves through, we keep an eye. Some models go back and forth. You can see the last run, for example, way different. That's completely offshore, maybe some southeastern snow with that. But you have this. Here's kind of the idea of the setup here is you have this western ridge in place. You have potentially models them going back and forth. You have some sort of high pressure up here potentially too that looks to build back in. And then so this system moves through, and then you have this deep, complete northern dive of upper level energy of this big old western ridge out here. And then you have this cutoff low that gets left behind here. And this kind of dives in earlier out ahead of this upper level energy. And the question then turns to, does this get out ahead just enough here to be able to have a stream interaction with this, which is very cold air source too, along with cold air out ahead of it? And what you see then is potential phase that occurs, or some sort of at least partial phase, good enough to get a significant snowstorm to set up here. It would be for the south, it would be for the southeast threat potentially as well, even into the mid-Atlantic and northeast. And here you can see just barely missing an all-out blizzard. Even it's a big snowstorm, but you can see on this specific run, just barely missing. Now, one key is here, if we go to 500 height, one thing I would like to see is originally that western ridge back off just a little bit. Now there's models go back and forth on whether or not, it doesn't matter the ensembles here. The ensembles matter, but not in the sense I'm about to describe. Some models are showing a weakness here in this ridge a little bit more than we're seeing as more upper level energy at this point dives in. Notice we kind of lose some Alaska ridging out here and gets forced further south a little bit, and we see potentially some troughing that will be moving through the area and kind of putting a little bit of a weakness in this ridge. Now, you wouldn't want too much of this to happen and kind of press and flatten out our system, but you would also at the same time like to see this western ridge back off a little bit if you want a big snowstorm to move up the coast, all for everybody up the coast, and allow a little bit more. Not only would you allow more stream separation, but you would allow this trough to sit in a little bit better, allow more upper level energy to get out ahead, and allow a stronger system to occur and more snow for this part of the country. So that's kind of the idea with this time frame here. This is another 50-50 low setup potential, which immediately would, I think prevent and make it harder for an interior snowstorm. So I wouldn't rule it out, but I'd say it'd be pretty difficult given just the general generic setup. But then you see your higher pressure to the north, western ridge here, general 50-50 low setup. Those are all indicators to watch of an East Coast snowstorm, and along with this big old, more of a digging trough than we have in the current storm, and potentially this upper level energy gets out ahead just enough here at 500, then you get a big old snowstorm. So that's kind of the idea. We're too far out to really go into the details. You can see the last run, not even close to the same. Not enough stream separation. You can see how it's connected. What I mean by stream separation is the two storms are, too close to each other to be able to let the latter one breathe. And in that scenario, you wouldn't get a snow. You would maybe get some snow. You can see here, you'll get some snow, but potentially for the south and southeast, maybe a little bit even, but you would not get as big of an event for sure. Here on this run, you can see you back it up a little bit more, pull in your upper level energy. You don't even really get a full on amount. You just get a little bit of it, and it's enough for a significant snowstorm on that run. So that kind of sums up what we're looking at here. Snowstorm coming for Monday, Tuesday for the Mid-Atlantic. Specifically, areas focused, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, maybe New York City, a little bit of light snow to keep an eye on, but nothing, I don't think, as major as it could have been with this system. DC, Maryland, Delmarva, and then ice threat for a lot of I think, Virginia, and points south potentially as well. Could be some mix for North Carolina out ahead of this event as well. So that's the general idea. We'll try to go live again tomorrow if I don't, at least another video. So appreciate everybody tuning in, and I hope you all have a good night or day whenever you're watching this.